All right, it's time, my friends. It's time to check back into one of these 6 real world issue questions that the IB, remember these? Remember? The IB has laid out for us, which are the 6 driving questions of inquiry, the 6 essential questions of study of what? IB economics. Okay? Remember, there are 6 of them. 2 of them applied to microeconomics. That was about consumers and producers and how they behave. The second question was about microeconomics as well, which is applied to government intervention and how effective are governments in intervening in micro markets. And we applied that to our studies of microeconomics and market power if you are an HL kid. That's the first 2 questions. The third question, which applied to macroeconomics, is like, why does economic activity vary over time and why do we even care? Why like these, right? Okay. And then the fourth question was like, okay, what are the tools that governments have in order to manage their economy? And you know those now really well as fiscal policy and monetary policy. Okay. That's 4, but there are 2 more. And this one has to do with our studies of international economics, which is a subsection of what? Of our studies of the global economy, which is an excellent overarching idea that because the global economy has to do with the interconnectedness of macro governments, right? Macro economies interacting with one another, and that produces certain outcomes where some countries are less developed than others as a result of that interaction, okay? So the real world issue question number 5, in this video, we're calling real world issue number 1 because it's applying to the global economy. Okay, this section of the IB syllabus. All right, dude, what's the question? Here's the question. Who are the winners and losers of the integration of the world's economies? I mean, what a question, dude. That's one thing about the IB, man. They can ask a question. I mean, this is some of the most thoughtful stuff. You know, they take years, something like 5 or 6 years to revamp every course's curriculum. It is an amazingly ongoing, thoughtful process, okay? So who are the winners and losers of economic integration? And this question's super relevant because we're about to launch into the international segment of our studies, which is looking at free trade, protectionism, like a tariff diagram. What about the subsidies? What about, protective subsidies, protective tariffs, protective quotas? How do those affect the winners and the losers of the world's integrated economies? And we're talking about international trade here, integrated, right? And also, like, what about the balance of payments? What about the exchange rate? How is that all affected? Well, that has a lot to do with the winners and losers. If you don't have a currency that's very strong, like Chile has like an okay currency, it's pretty strong, but it ain't the US dollar, it ain't the euro, right? No, it's not a world economy. It's not a world currency, no? It's one of the currencies of a middle of the road developed country in this world, and it's important and it's pretty stable and it works, but it ain't driving. So so the value of the dollar affects the Chilean economy quite a bit, right? Okay. Then we'll look at like balance of payments, which is just a way of tracking it's a fancy economic term. There's all these fancy economic terms. You just cannot, and you know this by your studies, by now in your studies, it's like you just don't balance of payments. Like, what does that mean? Oh, it sounds all fancy. And everybody gets all excited to use the terms, but they're just saying like, let's just count how much money leaves Chile versus how much money comes in. And then let's balance it out. So it should be about even, okay? And that creates winners and losers, unfortunately, right? And so this question hits on our global economy studies, but really focusing on what I call the international subsection of our studies of the global economy, okay? So what are the conceptual underpinnings of this statement? Remember, these conceptual underpinnings are like the agreed upon understandings that make that question relevant, and they are this. The increased interdependence of economies has benefits and costs, winners and losers. And number 2, increased economic integration may result in efficiency, welfare gains, and improvements in economic well-being, but the benefits may not result in equity, okay? And hey, do you see some yellow terms? You do. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, what are those? Those are 4 of the what? 9 central themes or concepts that are the underpinnings, the lenses through which we look at, hey, yeah, see how it just gets easier and easier and easier as you go through your studies? The real life situations that we are looking at in economics. And what are the 9? You asked, I have the answer. Scarcity, choice, efficiency, equity, economic well-being, sustainability, change, interdependence, and intervention. You know those by now. You should be secondhand. You go out in the world and you're walking through the central plaza of like downtown Santiago and you look and you see, two artists that are right next to each other and like, what's going on? They have choice in what they offer and I have choice in what I do. They're scarce. And if there's only two, what if there were three? All of these central themes keep coming back and back and back, and they're not going away because whether you're talking about microeconomics, macroeconomics, or this unit on the global economy, they're always relevant. All right, my friends? Excellent. There you have it. The real life question number 5, which is really question number 1 for our studies of our subset of the global economy, which is international economics. And we'll see you in the next